Hello, this is Kig. I wanted to do a little tier list video. It's 4 a.m. before I have a job interview in the morning, and I was just kind of wanting to start off doing some YouTube content. So we're starting off with the best WoW content there is, a tier list. We're just gonna go over all the dungeons that were in the War Within, just throughout all the seasons. We've got them all listed right here. We're gonna go off of the final version of the dungeon. Blizzard changed a lot of these dungeons over the different seasons, and if we ever got them back, I imagine they would be the same way that they came out, or at least a little bit changed even further. I doubt we would ever get the original version of these dungeons again. So I'm just gonna kind of rank them based on my experience playing Preservation through them. This is just like my POV, not necessarily a general overwhelming view of the dungeon as a whole for like every class, just how I felt about it. Uh, versus Arakara, I think Arakara is pretty good. It has a lot of healing requirements. It is very consistent throughput that you have to do it through the entire key. There's not a lot of downtime. There's a little bit of downtime with some pulls, but most of the time you're always having to do some type of healing and think about what buttons you're pushing and how you're managing the situations. I think it does pretty good with keeping you active as a healer. Um, the bosses are decently fun, I guess. They're mechanically interesting for the most part. There's not just like a take and spank kind of boss where your DPS are just sitting there doing target dummy, your healer's just healing a mechanic, and your tank's just moving it around. It's just everyone has to do a little something. Um, I think this dungeon is pretty good. The only problems I really have with this dungeon are with two different mob types. There's the Bloodworkers that will just charge randomly. There's no real way to know who they're charging. It's just random targeted damage, and once you get up there in the key level, you start having to deal with those charges. And it gets to the point where it's like the most dangerous mob in the whole dungeon, and it's like, really? Is the little blood worker that is just like following around mobs the most painful thing? Because that's pretty much how I feel about it. And you're just like, oh, this guy got charged 3 times during a locust swarm, and now he's just dead, even though I had Zephyr and Rewind and maybe Darkness out and Lumithar's out. And it's like this guy's still dead through all that. That doesn't feel very fair. And then it's also the same thing about in the very last area, the patrolling carriers are just the same thing but cringe and have more HP. It's like there's no swarm going out, but also these carriers, you go to a certain key level and suddenly, oh, he got hit 3 times because they all chose to kill your DPS for some reason. It's like great, that's we lost the key because of RNG, and that's just like never fun. But overall, I think this dungeon's pretty good. I think it's interesting enough as a healer and plenty of healing to do, and it's fun to squeeze in damage. Feels good because there's a lot of pad damage required in this dungeon, and that's what healers are kind of only doing. Like, it feels good to kill those bloodworkers with a fire breath and do damage to them, even if you're killing the funnel technically. It's like, well, at least we're not getting charged anymore. So I think I'm gonna put this at A, just because it is fun, it's good, I like it, but there are little cringe random things that can kill you for fun. Um, Cinnabrew Meadery. This place was in season 2, I believe. It's pretty good too. I like this dungeon a lot. The first area has really cool pulls where you do just insane big healing and damage intensive pulls. Like I think you're pulling like 2 or 3 thugs that just do fire barrels, and that's a very fun thing to have to do. I like it when dungeons start off with a huge pool. That's very fun to me. It feels like you're doing a lot, you're getting hit all your buttons, everyone's having fun. Everyone loves hitting their buttons. I think that's a unanimous take, is that everyone loves hitting their buttons and doing big damage or big healing or making a pool work out really well. Um, so yeah, the first place is really good. I guess one slightly annoying thing is the throw chair problem. It's kind of just a universal situation with how keys are. It's like, oh, this guy got 2 throw chairs at him and he's just dead. And even if he hits a wall, he hit a wall and he still died through 2 throw chairs and the 3 Cinderbrews going out. It's like, okay, I wish this had been a little staggered, or maybe not at the exact same time as everything else. So that's a little annoying. But other than that, it's like you do the first boss, you have a little fun, run around healing dots. You go either left or right, so there's a tiny bit of choice. The lack of choice is a little silly in this key. I remember in the season happened that it was the Oracle Disc Priest season. So unless you had an Oracle Disc Priest or a rogue or a lot of CC like Cage or Trap or Sleepwalk, then you couldn't really go to the left very easily, and you had to change your entire route because of one pack to the left. It is a little silly. Um, Preservation did have some cool tech in here where you could sleepwalk the guards to the corner. I think it was a little bit faster than having your tank pull to the side. Um, but yeah, again, it's like the bosses in here were pretty fun to heal. It's just either repetitive, like single target dots or AoE burst. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty normal dungeon. Don't have really too many complaints outside of that. I think it's pretty good. I don't really have any problems with this place. It's fun and it's just like I don't know, there's nothing bad about it. It's kind of one of the things that I'm probably gonna end up saying a lot here is that this dungeon just doesn't have anything that bad about it. Do I think it's amazing? Like perfect dungeon, we should have more of these? Not really. It's it's just a little too linear. Like I don't like it in dungeons whenever you have to pull packs. Like obviously it's gonna happen a little bit, but when everyone's route has the same exact mobs every time, it's like, all right, the variety here and what people want to do or want to try is obviously limited because you're either forced to invis-pot through a pack to pull a different one, or you're swapping the two packs. So I'm just gonna put it in A. I don't think it's S yet. And I'll like reorganize these in the end. City of Threads, this is a banger dungeon. This is such a good dungeon. All of the trash is like so interesting in terms of like what's going on. There's like this is one of those things where like the trash teaches you a little bit of the boss fights. That might be a little bit wrong, but there's like you walk up into this dungeon, right? In the first pool, there's this big stag beetle, and he's doing a big swarm. And there's another guy who's putting out a dispel. And that kind of teaches you what happens on the first boss. The first boss is a little annoying because it's like we have this like 20-yard space to do this entire boss, and now I have to dispel. And with WoW's like ping system, it helps a little bit because you can like ping the person you're dispelling, and then hopefully your entire party knows, oh, that's the guy who's dispelling, and they can dodge his orbs first. The problem is that the time you get to dispel and ping and like communicate is so fast. I think it's my only thing about this dungeon is that the dot's ticking. You want to dispel insta, but you also want to give your team time to like move and coordinate what's happening. So that I think is a little rough, but that's like a very small thing. Um After that you go into this RP section, which is a little fun. It's like a mini game, which is RNG, and the RP is a little boring. Like the RP in dungeons is always going to be boring, but it is like another small thing where you're kind of it's a you're just doing some packs. It's really just comes down you're doing packs, and the game forces you to do certain packs. I think the mobs all end up being the same regardless, which is good, but you do lose a little bit of timer to RNG of running around more. There's one bugged patrol mob in this place that would snap back if you hit it and was like lying about its detection radius, and that probably bricked a couple keys for people. Um, but the rest of this dungeon was so rewarding. Like, first boss, extremely good when it comes to like everyone just feels good. The tank has to really do good about movement and taking the tank buster that's happening like every 10 seconds, and everyone has to do good coordination. The second boss is extremely like this is like a raid boss, second boss almost. There's not a lot of mechanics to it, but if you really want to min-max this fight, your group has to move together. They have to bait lines. They have to move correctly. They have to move together. The healing is intensive. You have to be smart about your cooldowns. Your tank has a thing he has to soak. Everyone has to soak with him. It's like it's one of those fights that really does well at making everyone do something. I really appreciate it when fights make everyone play the game, as silly as it sounds, and I think that's one of them. Um, and it's the same thing with the next boss fight. The third boss fight is another one where your tank is a tank buster. Your DPS does to soak things that they kind of have to think about their defensive because it's also heal absorb. And your healer's sitting there thinking, okay, how am I going to heal all these people off? And how am I going to use my cooldowns to heal this heal absorb, but also still have buttons to push and then tell them what buttons to push for the actual AoE damage. And that's pretty interesting as well. It's another one of those little like puzzles that the whole group has to figure out how to coordinate their defensives and just how to live. And as a healer, I really like that kind of strategy to it. And then the last boss fight is also just a banger. First of all, before you even go into this boss, it's another thing. The two mobs teach you the boss mechanics, and I love that. I think that is crazy good game design because you walk into these keys, or really the M0 the first time, and you might read the dungeon journal, you might not, and suddenly the mobs are kind of forcing you to see what happens. You see what happens when you get the circle around you and you get rooted and does damage, and then the other one shows you that there's an AoE ticking thing coming out, and it's just you go to the boss and suddenly you're doing it both at the same time. And it's like, oh, I tackled test 1, I tackled test 2, and now I'm on to the actual final battle. And the final battle is so good too. The tank has to live this huge tank buster that is also a movement coordination of the group because it's a big circle around you. Um, the AoE damage is another one of those. Here is some ticking healing that you have to actually hit buttons to heal through, and then a big hit, so you have to manage your defense as well. Something that's really good about that style of healing is um, when it's one or the other, it comes down to a okay, the healer will just tell me when to hit my defensive. The healer will uh call when he has healing cooldowns and we're good to deal with the rot damage. And if it's just one hit, it's okay, I hit my wall 1, I hit my wall 2, I ask for an external or we have a raid cooldown, and then I'm back to wall 1, I'm back to wall 2, and then that just cycles the entire fight. But when they put them together, it makes you kind of have to think about yourself, and your healer has to understand how to communicate their healing at the same time. And it is a good thing to have to communicate to each other in these fights. But yeah, the fight is just good. It's one of the more challenging fights in Mythic Plus for healers and probably DPS as well. Um, and I imagine tanks too. I think Prop Paladin kind of made this fight a little bit of a joke because they could just immune the tank buster, and then Prop Paladin, when it's strong, it's a little overpowered because it's if it's able to live, it can make other people live, and that's something that's a little broken about it. At least that's how it was this season. Not sure about Midnight, but I think overall, City of Threads is probably an S tier dungeon. Like it has the RP problems. It has something that's a little hard on the first boss, but like the rest of the dungeon is so good. Like overall, as a whole, it is definitely just S tier. I don't know. It's so fun to me. It's the most, maybe the most rewarding key of the entire expansion. There's another couple of contenders that come close, but this one is just so polished that it feels even more rewarding. It feels hard to lose to bullshit in that one, which is really good. What's that? Dark Flame Cleft. Um, this dungeon was pretty like infamous for just being, uh, hey guys, if we don't die, we'll time the key, and that existed for the entire like almost up to the highest level. I don't know if the highest level was that way. I imagine it kind of was because this was just free the entire time. But Dark Flame Cleft is good. I don't think it's A tier. I think it might be B tier for me. I'm just gonna go ahead and set up here because I don't feel like it's on the same level as Arcar Cinnabrew. But the first area is cool. There's a little multiple like pathways. You can either go left or right. You can choose between what mobs. There's a lot of mobs that you can and don't have to pull in this key, but at the same time, the percent is also a little limiting. Because in reality, it's like, why would we ever pull certain mobs in this dungeon? So it starts a little rough. The first boss is pretty annoying as preservation, just because you want to stay with people, and if you chase people, you might accidentally get hit by a car if you're not careful, because there's these mine carts that pass through. But Cauterize was cool here. Um, The trash after the first boss was also pretty fun to heal, because the exploding candle guys were big pulse waves of healing, and that's just a fun thing to have to heal on preservation at least, because our healing kit was so bursty this expansion. Um, the second, the second boss room with the crazy amount of stops was pretty interesting, I guess I'd say, because it kind of does hurt people who don't communicate well, because you obviously have to do like a good amount of stops in a row. And I don't remember if Vengeance Demon Hunter was good this season or not, but I know if you had it, it turned into an absolute joke. Um, I think it was good because Silent Sigil was so good in that room. Um, but the act of like stopping multiple times in a row and like coordinating stops is, I think, something that is good for keys overall because it feels good when you do it. It is pretty annoying if you go into a comp that can't do it. Like you go in like this last season with like a Prot Warrior and Havoc Demon Hunter, and you're just never stunning a single mob because your Havoc Demon Hunter is meta leaping and Chaos Novaing for just damage, and then your Prot Warrior hits a 0.5 seconds shockwave that's back up in 15 seconds and it's still DR'd anyway. But like if you go into these kind of pools with lots of different CCs and can stop them all and you all do it well, it's kind of rewarding. The boss is whatever, I guess. It was good because it was like mechanically interesting and like stopping, lighting certain candles and putting some out. Um, I think it was kind of hard to tell actually how that fight worked for like the first week or two. People were confused on how to on how many candles they should be putting out and what actually have to do, and I think that's fine because people just learned it over time. Um, And then really the stuff in between that boss and the next, the mini boss just always got skipped, which is kind of funny. The jump around the stairs, if anyone who's watching this remembers that, and how some people struggled and some people found it so easy, was kind of funny. It's a shame that the mini boss just sucked the entire season. Like it was just like never actually good to pull, I'm pretty sure. It's not good when dungeons have mobs that are just unpullable, but are also just like straight in front of you. It's kind of annoying to have to deal with. Um, the Candle King boss was pretty fun to heal. It was another one of those "we're dying, D and dire time, please save me" healer, where you actually feel really good as a healer when you heal this. Um, the frustrating thing about this fight is the mechanics were a little buggy. Pickaxes would sometimes be going through a candle, and then suddenly you're up one candle in the fight, and now you're like, how are we going to live? We didn't clear all the candles. I don't get my breathing room, and now it's harder. That's a little frustrating because it's like, as a healer, it might not have been your fault, and suddenly your DPS just made the key level go up, technically. Um, there's also the point that in very high keys, the trick came to you could dodge the heal absorb, which is extremely silly for a fight like this. Like, I think Boomkins could wild charge backwards out of the heal absorb, and mages could blink out of it, and it's like, all right, now the fight's a joke again. Um, and that's not good when a fight's like that. But if it worked out how Blizzard intended the fight to be played, I think it's a really good fight. Um, it's another one where, yes, you have to heal. Yes, your DPS have to be smart about their defensives. Your tank doesn't really do anything on this fight, which is, I guess it does move a little bit for candles, but your tank really doesn't do anything. Um, but yeah, I think overall it's a pretty cool fight. It's one of them, like the healing um kind of staples of the expansion. I I would say just overall it's good. Um, but yeah, I know when I healed this on preservation, I felt so insane because I think Resto Druid was insane at this, and then Oracle Priest just kind of made it a joke as well. Oracle made it that entire season a joke. But preservation is like you have to push your buttons pretty well, and you have to remember to stabilize your mana. And it was pretty fun with like Life Spark, Verdant Embrace ramp yourself on the heal absorb, and hitting your Emerald Communion at good times. I don't know, I enjoyed it. Um, the next section of this dungeon where you're just kind of following this minecart around to be able to hit mobs is really cringe. I'm gonna be honest. Um, you get this like it came down to at the end of the season where your tank would just say, "All right, I'm going to pick up all the mobs. I'll be back," and they would just run and they would go pick up everything. And as a healer, you're sitting there like, "All right, what do I do? Do I chase my tank to heal him, or do I just trust that he's not going to die to 80 mobs while we're pushing this minecart?" And the minecart like awkwardly went faster than you could run, but it would also just pause the moment any mob got near it. And it's now like, uh-oh, the tank who's running around the entire area and is picking up every mob now has to figure out what to do with keeping the DPS who decided to do one damage to a mob alive and has now stopped everything. And so that's probably a little annoying. But yeah, the light mechanic was weird. It was a little cringe. I didn't like this part of the dungeon. The RP afterwards was fine. It was kind of funny how people would compete to see how many sticks of dynamite they get hit on the boss. Even though I didn't really think it mattered. I think you got to like 90% or something, and that's all that mattered when it wasn't hard. The area after it just came down to another big pull that eventually people just did on to the next boss. And the last boss of this place is like a basically just a one-shot check. You had to have defensives for the big hit, and your healer had to heal like 3 pulses of damage, and then the healer had the healer job of bringing the candle most of the time, and you're still doing with this weird light mechanic, which is like cool, but it's like an actual gameplay, it's just annoying. You're just picking up this candle and moving it, you're hitting an extra action button twice every like 10 seconds, and you have to run and pick this candle, and now oops, my DPS didn't move the candle when he said he would, or his extra action button broke and we've lost the key, or oops, I put the candle in too fast, someone please go get one right now. And it's never fun when you're like smoke bombed in a fight on accident because something went wrong and now none of your healing is doing anything, none of your damage is doing anything. But you got to this point in the dungeon and you were like chilling. The only part of this entire dungeon, and probably my biggest problem with it, is literally just the Candle King, and I don't like it when there's one thing in a dungeon that you have to deal with. Hi Shars. Uh, because it's just like it's stressful and it kind of diminishes the entire dungeon of, oh, we killed Candle King, we got IO almost, and then you get really mad when you don't because your tank blew up or something crazy. So yeah, I think I'm just putting it B. I'm kind of yapping a lot, but I don't know. You guys clicked on the video. Uh, Ecodome Aldani. This one's pretty good, I think. Um, Preservation feels fun in this key. I think overall this key is good. Um, there's a decent amount of run diversity. First boss is fun. Um, you kind of pat on this boss's preservation to do more healing because like fire breath on all the mites just lay on hands your party for any damage. Um, it's a little sad that this dungeon has the case of let's skip this one mob type and we're forced to skip it multiple times if we really want to have a good timer, which is the Sentinels. The Sentinels are pretty cool mobs for the most part. They do suffer from extreme RNG that just really can piss you off. It's outplayable, but it's like, oh, my guy popped 2 sets of scales, my DPS didn't kill the Sentinel yet, and now I got zapped twice in a row with no defensive and I'm just dead. And it's like, as a healer, it's upsetting because it's like, yeah, maybe just one heal, but also it's like if my DPS killed this faster, then I don't run out of defensives, and it's a little frustrating to have to deal with that, but that's kind of part of like a team game, is everyone has to put in their part. I think the real problem with this dungeon is that everything jumps. Everything is just jumping around the entire time. Like you have warp stalkers rift warping around, putting a line on the ground, and now you have warp or what are they called? I don't remember what they're called. They do arcing something, but far stalkers. You have rift stalker or rift warpers and far stalkers, I think. But far stalkers jump, and now we've just got jumping mobs and we've got teleporting mobs, and my melee DPS is just like hitting in blade storm, saying why can't I hit everything? And depending on how many far stalkers you pulled, they kind of got really, really bad because suddenly you've got 3 Farstalkers in a pack and they all chose the same guy in melee to jump on, and now all of your melee DPS just got jumped on 3 times, and either someone's dead or you had a heart attack, and that's kind of annoying. Um, but those are like the only 2 mobs that are a problem. The second boss is really cool. It's like this cool, like bursty waves of damage, and then you have spears that can be immune if you have certain classes. Um, it's a little annoying that you can like kill each other with the warps or the lines you put through the boss. It's weird that Blizzard didn't have like any indication of what order they were going in. I mean, they went in order that they appeared, but the fact that there was no indicator for that, I think if they changed the color of the lines to which one's going next, would have really helped like the general community of this uh game for the dungeon. And then like the dungeon after that second boss was pretty much just pull mobs. These mobs don't do anything, but they keep jumping. It's just the whole mob. The whole game is jumping. It's either the jumping mob or the sentinel mob. That's this entire dungeon. Let's hope we get all of our kicks. Uh, the AoE erratic ritual guys are just like just heal a little bit. There's nothing else going on. Sometimes you get leapt on during it. Sure, you should have probably had a defensive rolling anyway because it's an AoE. The last boss is really cool. I like the last boss a lot. Last boss is another. Hey guys, let's all do mechanics. The tank doesn't have to do anything really on this fight, which is why usually you pulled mobs as the tank onto this boss. There's like passive ticking AoE damage, and you have to have this big hit of healing before it, but you also have to keep healing afterwards. And it's cool to have like fluctuating damage that is happening all the time, so you have to think about what spells you're hitting and like what kind of cooldowns are we gonna hit. Um, and then there's damage amp. Everyone loves having a damage amp in a fight. It's fun to play around with your buttons. It's like, oh, do I save my cooldowns for now and get another use, or do I hit them on the 20%, 30% damage amp coming up? And the fight is just like constant healing check for healer, so that's kind of fun to deal with. Yeah, I think this dungeon's pretty good. I think this is another A2 dungeon. I think if they didn't have as many jumping mobs, and I think if the floor wasn't blinding in this place, because you have to play the second half of this dungeon with Inky Black Potion to see anything. I think if they fixed those two things and maybe had the Sentinels deal damage, I think this probably would have been S tier for me. But I think the problems in the key are just a little too like apparent to put it in like perfect. Um, Floodgate. Oh my god. Floodgate is crazy. This dungeon, it's like, it's hard, right? It's fun, but it's so unforgiving. The, um, the first pull of this place might have one of the biggest wipe counts in the entire season, just because someone died to two dynamites. That's just what it is. You either die to Shrednator, you die to Flamethrower, or you die to two dynamites, or your tank falls on the ground and says one heal. Um, you get to this place and everyone just knows how this dungeon is gonna go. Like it's one of those dungeons that is infamous because it's true. Like you go into this key and stupid stuff happens. Like 9 times out of 10, it's Shrednator, Flamethrower, Dynamite times two. And that's just how it went. Like that's how you died 90% of this key before the first boss. Or your tank floor rugs. Um but like outside of that, the trash is all like a lot of healing. You have to do a lot of healing on this trash because like you have to do healing for the actual dynamites that don't kill people, and you have to heal the nail guns, and you have to heal when your DPS doesn't kick surveyor fire beams, and then you get rooted in the fire beam and everyone's mad, and then you die. The architect mob is kind of cool. I think the scaffolding mechanic is probably annoying for DPS. I don't really care, but the idea of like a quote unquote damage phase mob that you have to kind of like, it's fun when you burn that mob real fast and he's dead and he can't make another scaffolding. You feel cool when you do that. Uh, you pretty much like you could go Big Mama or you could go Demolition Duo technically in this dungeon. I think that's pretty cool. I like when you can choose a direction in a key. It did come down to like less timings and trinket timings just to go to Demolition Duo. Demolition Duo is pretty fun. You could sometimes get targeted with a dispel bomb and a shot at the same time, and that's the cool thing about preservation is that if you take two charges, you can pretty much time dilation almost every one, and you save lives, and you feel good, you feel powerful. Sometimes your DPS doesn't move out to the dispel for 10 years, and you can rescue them there because they're not there in time. Um, the There's certain mobs in here that are kind of cringe. Like the demolitionist guys almost required a DK. There's a cool way you could pull stuff if you knew how, where you could like line of sight it and it would run to where you want it to be. But I think requiring some weird line of sight stuff that shouldn't really work is probably wrong in like game design. But having a death grip almost required in this key for to some people is probably a downgrade in its score. Big Mama is, I think, the highest skill capped boss they've ever put in Mythic Plus. I think the fact that your tank has to live an insanely hard tank buster that leaves a dot. Um, I think your DPS have to coordinate their DPS cooldowns extremely well because burning these ads down um, before the kill block barrier comes up, and you have to live in this like AoE damage phase before an even bigger AoE damage phase is a cool like kind of balance of how are we hitting our damage buttons here to not make our healer hate themselves? Or are we going to make our healer hate themselves so we can actually burn the boss faster? I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic for DPS to have to deal with. Um, the healing in this fight is pretty cool because it's like you don't really do too much, but you still have to push your buttons until the kill block barrier comes up. And like I said, it's like, how long do you have to heal this kill block barrier? Am I healing this for 30 seconds? How am I gonna do that? How am I gonna have to do that and then also live the AoE lightning afterwards that does even more damage? And it's just like it is one of those situations where the game allows you to be an extremely good healer. Like if you are really, really good as a healer, you keep your team alive through the kill block barrier, unless you're talking like a minute. If your team just does no damage, or some guy fell off the edge, pulled three snipers, and now you've got 4 DPS on this thing, or I'm sorry, 4 party members, then yeah, you're screwed. But like your DPS says, hey, let's hold this for 15 seconds so I can do big damage, and you pull that off as the healer, you are like on top of the board. It's like, yeah, I did it. I heal us, and then I heal this even more. Crazy. 2 heals. Um, but yeah, I just think it's like that whole dynamic of choosing how you deal the damage and making sure you deal that damage and having to heal through it to make up for the damage or allow certain damage to happen while your tank is also living the entire time because your tank is getting destroyed. This magic damage tank buster that leaves a dot on you is crazy. And he's also ticking down during the AoE damage as well, so it's like super hard. I think this boss is really cool. This boss is really skill gated and it's just like it's like the entire dungeon is probably the only part of it. It's like this boss, depending on how your DPS coordinate, is either a like a 4 minute boss or a 6 minute boss, and that's a little silly, for like the general community. Like you go in there with bad DPS, they all hit their buttons on the ads to pad, and then you have no burn damage. No, suddenly you're 4 phases into Big Mama and you've lost the keystone without even realizing it. Um, but yeah, I think overall this is probably one of the cooler bosses they've ever made for like entire group coordination and like skill, like the ability to show your skill individually and as a group. And then after this boss, you kind of just do the rest of the bombs. You do a Blood Warper. Blood Warper is kind of crazy. You have a lot of room to like really show what you can do as a healer on these Blood Warpers if you manage to like heal absorb and stop the snipe on somebody because your DPS won't. Um, then you go down to the kelp pool. Kelp pool is pretty cool. The mobs like you really suffer on this pack if you don't have good CC, which is a little annoying. You don't want to hit healing cooldowns here as a healer, but you kind of end up having to sometimes if your CC gets messed up. And then after you do that, you do Swamp Face. A lot of the times you do divers with Swamp Face, and your DPS wouldn't kick, and as preservation, you'd cauterize it, and you'd feel like, oh, absolute hero moment. Absolute hero. This guy didn't kick, I made him kick, pretty much, because I removed the bleed. Now, whether or not you still live after that is a different story. But this boss was really cool for preservation. It's one of the hardest fights for preservation, probably, just because, like, it's another one of those things where I need to heal the rot healing, but I also have to hit my big cooldowns like Spirit Bloom to actually heal the big damage, so mixing in how you heal this and how you arrange your cooldowns is really important. Um, it was cool that they made it to where the chain, like the vine, doesn't attach to the healer. Um, I think that helped a lot of people out because this was like a very movement intensive fight as well. Um, like the waves that spawn and the vines and DPS having to like almost focus more on their movement, and healer have to focus on their movement during that phase when it's also just incredibly hard to heal. Uh, is probably good design, right? It's like interesting the fact that not only do you have to sit there and hit your buttons, but you also have to still do the mechanics. I think that's their aim. Um, I think Swamp Face is a good fight. I think it's probably like maybe the second best fight in the game for healers. Like you feel really good when you win this fight as well because it's just like you've sat there and healed straight for like 3 to 4 minutes, and people are scared and people want to live and there's nothing they can really do and it's all on their healer. So when you win, you're like, yeah, I healed it. I'm him. Um, the rest of this dungeon is like whatever. It's like you go down there, you hope your tank doesn't die, you hope the dispels go off, you hope you have dwarfs for if your tank pulls two electric guys. The fact that you had to skip the two guys at the end is a little silly. It just came down to like this is just faster, so let's do it. But I mean, it's the end of the dungeon, so sure. Um, last boss is cool. It's a joke if you have immunes. You could deep breath a spark ball if you didn't know that, but it's just kind of like just another boss. AoE is cool. I've run embrace into lines and bricked the key like 4 or 5 times. But yeah, that entire dungeon is I think it's pretty good. I think it's good. It's like annoying at sometimes. I think I think it deserves A though. I think it deserves A just because it is like challenging and very rewarding. And I think that's like one of the bigger parts of dungeons is when they're challenging and rewarding at the same time. You feel so good when you time Floodgate. I remember I timed this 20 the first time and it was non-resil and it was with my group, and we had like 5 seconds left or something crazy, and I literally was like about to cry. I was like, I actually time played day 20. Um, but yeah, that's good. Uh, all right, next is Gambit. Let me get a sip of my drink. Gambit is a returning dungeon. I think it's the first time it came back. Maybe the second. I'm not sure. I think it is the second actually, because they did it with a mega dungeon set. But Gambit is like a pretty bland dungeon. The first area is like a DPS heaven. The changes they did to this dungeon kind of sucked because they made it to where you couldn't pull as big, but DPS like doing big damage. There's almost no healing in this place. You do some murlocs, you go to the first boss, you're forced to healer job um the console to show people their colors, and then you sit there for 20 seconds doing nothing, hoping your tank doesn't die, hoping your DPS actually looks. You The big problem about this dungeon is the humanoid mobs of the Murlocs running at like 20% health, and now you've just pulled 18 more packs, and it's like, the sphere lasts way too long. The fact that like I bricked most of my gambits to this first area of Murlocs just running to another pack for fun, even with like a monk hitting Romp or Paralyze and me hitting Landslide and Knockback, and like I'm doing nothing but trying to control these mobs, and it's not enough, and that's kind of disgusting. This is a dungeon where everyone's sad that they don't have Resto Druid because Ursol's is just perfect for this, and even with Ursol's that you can still brick to this. That's probably the worst part of this dungeon. It's just the Murlocs running. Um, the My Captain is a Dragon boss uh, is fine. It's just like you can. It's fun that you can min max the debuff that they added that gives haste as a healer. If you really were smart about it, you could give your DPS like a lot of extra haste for a long time, and you could be just like, just trust me, I've got you, do damage moment as a healer, which is pretty fun. But that the boss is mostly on if your tank knows how to point the breath and if your team knows how to move with the fire. Uh, the last area is also just kind of whatever. It's like, all right, we've got these mobs that spawn a big healing thing, and I heal a little bit. Hope my team gets kicks. Hope no one dies to random bolts going off. Last boss is cool, I guess. It's like AoE damage every now and then. You have to deal with some AoE. You have to like do this 4 hits of AoE from a star while also making sure you don't die to the hyperlight spark. Um, that I mean, the boss is fun to heal because it's just a lot of healing, but for everyone else, I imagine it's really boring. I imagine that fight is so boring as DPS because you're sitting there doing damage, doing damage, doing damage, dodging star, going to break the star, and that's the whole fight. And Preservoker has the whole range issue, which really doesn't matter too much if you just do good lifeline ramps. Um, I really liked on this Tazovish Gambit place, like trying to see how many stacks of the star I could just let explode with like Zephyr and Lumathar and Rewind and live. I think the highest I ever did was 2, on like a 20 or something. But yeah, this place is like fine. It's not, it's just a little bland. It's boring. There's nothing too cool about it. It's way too easy. This is like the entire reason I hit 4K is because, oh, 22 Gambit, anybody can do this kind of thing. You just have to get the key and don't let the Murlocs ruin your life. And that's kind of it. I think I'm just gonna put it in C, just because like I hope they don't bring this back. It's kind of like where C is the cutoff. Is like if they brought any of these at B, A, or S, I'd be like, all right, sure. But anything at C and below, I'd be like, really? Like I have to do Gambit for a whole season. I have to brick all my keys. We have to roll them all to Gambit, so we have to push 5 Gambits up now. That's how that key feels. Um, oh god, Grimbatul. Grimbatul was in the first season. I hardly remember this dungeon. This dungeon was bad. I'm pretty sure I hated this dungeon. You had to line of sight an AoE, or it would just one tap you at a certain key level. You did some trash, you kicked some stuff, your tank hopefully didn't die because it was prop out in season. Um, and then you did this stupid Dragon RP. The Dragon RP was so stupid. I hate RP where you kill the mobs in the RP with a button. And it's like, sure, it's kind of cool. It's like, oh, what pack do we kill with our fire breaths? But it ends up you just shoot shit. And I don't think anyone ever actually thought about this. It's just like you would shoot the buttons and you'd hope that everyone killed it, and on the way back you'd fly by and see that stuff didn't die and be like, well, who shot this? And then no one cared. No one actually cared. And then you just run to the first boss, and the first boss was just like waves of damage, and you had to put down pools, and it's just like, oh, heal, hit defensive, heal, hit defensive, heal, and it's like not really any challenge to it. It's just topping people like every 10 seconds. Um, you could like cauterize something on Hero's Prez, which is nice. I love it when cauterize is useful for once. Um, the next area was just like casters and more one big AoE hit. So it's like, oh, I hope Bolt doesn't go off at the same time as an AoE hit. Let's hope we kick. And then the boss padding back and forth was like kind of fun because you could choose on like, oh, do we want to pull this pack with the boss and hit less now? And it's like, sure, do some damage. But then, there's this time, I don't know if it ended up this whole way, but like you could line of sight the tank buster and that would reduce the damage. The boss was like kind of fun just because it was a lot of healing. It was a heal check. I'll always find the heal checks fun because it's like you have to do a lot of healing for a certain amount of time, and then you get these break windows, so you kind of have to circle through like how much healing you want to do for each, and some of these windows are harder than others because there's another mechanic coming out. It's like a little overlappage, but this fight is another fight where it's like, oh, only the healer is really doing anything, and only the tank is trying to survive damage, and the DPS are just sitting there doing whatever they want. Um, the area after this one, though, I swear to God, so many keys bricked in this area. These stupid little, I don't, they're like orc warlocks or something. They put out a curse heal absorb. You couldn't come into this place without a shaman at least, because you needed somebody to decurse. You needed it. This heal absorb was 14 times your health bar. You were like, if you were healing this thing off, you had the juice. Like you were just pumping healing. Otherwise, you had to cauterize. I was putting stasis cauterizes out on trash packs. And it's like, this heals over so insane. And you line up with this Ascendant mob that went Giga mode, like Goku Super Saiyan on the entire party because he had 50% health. And it's like, I hope my damage dealers are going to nuke this thing because we can't live this. You just can't live this thing with a heal absorb going out. And then, like, the whole time you're also having to kick bolts. And it's like, I hope my DPS can do infinite damage, kick the bolt, and to pray that the guy who got the healing absorb gets decursed or we lose here. Um, and then you get to the boss after just dealing with that for like 5 pulls, and all those 5 pulls are just nightmares, and you can wipe on anyone. And you get this boss, and those flame ascendant mobs were so garbage. I think only a couple routes pulled them, but most people would just like avoid them and pull the boss into a corner. And now suddenly you're praying. You are absolutely praying that when you face this boss that no one hits any buttons because the dragon flies right next to the ascendants and people would hit their buttons on the dragon and the ascendants would pull and you'd be like, no way we pulled these ascendants and bricked our key after we got here finally, and now you've just lost because Johnny Ellie wants to hit chain lightning one more time on a single target, and it's just a great. Um, After this, you just heal a couple more heal absorbs. You go down, you heal these guys that fixate you. You can line aside them. Uh, Spell Reflect was insane here, and you get the last boss. Last boss was a little annoying because you really had to clear these tentacles, and if you didn't have anybody who could clear the tentacles, you were just in hell. Like everything was so bad, and you get touched by a tentacle and it's over. And it was just like another heal big AoE burst 1, heal big AoE burst 2, and then heal a dot. Like it's better than nothing, but I don't think it ever did enough damage to really merit it as a healing check. It was more of a defensive check, and those to me are kind of boring. But I think strictly for this that one section of the dungeon alone, this dungeon just loses so many points for me because like I hate it when you have to bring something to a dungeon to even complete it. It's like you're telling me I have to bring a decurse or I just don't win. I can't like find a cool way to outplay it with a rogue or my like I don't know, hunter can't like trap a mob or do something cool. Like why is only one group of like classes only able to do this kind of thing? I don't like that. Um, I think I'll put it in D just because I hate this dungeon. This might be like a little biased, but it is my tier list. But I hate this dungeon. This place was just annoying. I didn't feel good about timing the ski. I felt good because I didn't have to go back into this key. And there was a reason why this key was like this key was also super tight. It was like 3 key levels under the highest one. I don't even remember at the time. House of Atonement. This one's really good. I like this one a lot. The pulls are kind of you pull a lot of mobs. DPS get to have fun. They reduced the amounts of kicks in the pools after they changed it, which is good. Um, the hunter or hunt master like shooting random people was, I mean that's just it's a part of the WoW games. Like there will be RNG damage goes out. The thrashes are fun to heal because it's like it's a lot of damage coming out every like 10 seconds or something. I know it's weird that like sometimes they'll say damage coming out every 10 seconds is like boring and sometimes it's fun, but it's like when it's in trash, it keeps you like active, but when it's on a boss, it's just like so bland. I guess I don't know if maybe I'm just making up shit, but it's like healing trash mobs that do AoE damage make you think more because you're also trying to like do some healer damage. You're trying to keep your tank alive. Like everyone's doing something at that point. The bosses that just like have a defensive check, it's like of course you have your defensive up for this boss because you pulled the boss with it like going into it ahead of time. But Thrashes is like, all right, we've pulled the first shard, we sent these CDs, we pulled the second shard, we don't have defensives from the first, we don't have our raid CDs, so like, how do we get through this? I think maybe that's the difference, is that certain times in Dungeon Trash, it's like, it's so much back to back to back to back damage that you have to actually calculate your cooldowns in an order together to be able to live it. When as a boss, it's like this is a 3 minute fight. The damage comes out every 30 seconds. Hit your wall now, 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 now. And you do that 4 times and the fight's over. But Dungeon Trash, it's like you have to do this for up to like I think 9 minutes of thrashes or not really back to back, but like it's basically the first 8 to 9 minutes of this key is like planning defensives and hitting your buttons good for thrashes outside of like the couple like little there's like 2 pools maybe without thrashes in this first area. Um the first boss, I think the change is fine that they did to make it more like healing intensive. Um this boss did nothing in Shadowlands, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's literally just don't get hit by a circle and don't follow the ring. The boss does have a really stupid bug where you just get feared randomly and just actually kills people. Um, But yeah, this boss is like nothing special, I guess. But it's just like whatever. I don't know. It's like interesting because you have to do some healing, but it's still kind of a nothing boss to be honest. It's probably more of a fun DPS boss just because there's so much funnel allowed to bring onto it. Um, the the area after this first boss is like something that no one ever really did when it first came out, but now there's a little bit of variety of what you pull in this area. And like the entire dungeon, you kind of pull the same mobs in the first part of the dungeon, but in different orders. But the second part of the dungeon is a little, you could choose what you want to do. There's a couple different choices. Um, it's kind of just ankle renders are annoying if they live too long. You go to the next boss, and rescue was so fun on this. You would either kill your teammate by rescuing too soon, and you would just like almost wipe your group because you didn't move them in time, or moved them too soon. No, no, none of the stone guys got stopped. But if you really got good at it, and you just rescued them out every time. It's like you just don't need a defensive for everyone as long as it doesn't pick the evoker. Um, the boss was also kind of buggy though. It was just like, oh, the guys aren't moving for some reason. But overall, the boss is like fine. It's kind of cool little like mini game of killing the mobs in the area, putting the thing on them. You have to defensive the dot if you can't rescue them, and you have to make sure they live the overlap of the explosions and the slam. Um, the trash after it, the pull after directly with like the eviscerators and the hunts guys, just like one of those pulls like, oh, I hope my mage doesn't get shot 12 times in a row because he's just going to get one tapped, and there's like no real way of telling it because the targeted spells thing doesn't really do much. Like it's not able to tell me that I'm getting shot 12 times. It can only tell me I'm getting shot once. The boss afterwards was cool, I guess, because you could like stasis dispel and do little mass dispel things as preservation. Um, it's gonna be a long video. I just saw the timer. Um, the uh, the boss is like fun-ish because no, this boss sucks. Never mind. This boss, I mean, it's okay because like you dispel and you can choose who to dispel and defensives and like, oh, let's alternate. Let's hope we have a DK. Let's hope we have dwarfs. And then we have to heal the pulsing damage. The lantern thing is kind of annoying. Like it's if you would always want to leave one lantern up so you could have one continue to spawn, you'd always take the new one and you'd never run out of lanterns, and there's no way of knowing that unless you just know. And if you're a pug and your group takes too long, you just run out of lanterns and now you're just dead. Um, the mini boss afterwards is like whatever. It's fun to hit lust, tip the scales. Threads of Fate did the most damage of any healer here. It was the fastest thing you could do. I guarantee it's better than Mark of the Wild for those 12 seconds. But don't talk about the 13th second. Um, the last boss is fine. It's just heal. It's like if you got to the last boss with time left, you won. You'd almost never die there. So overall, I like this dungeon. I think it's fun because it's just like there's nothing too bad about it. I think does it deserve A tier? I think I want to put it in A tier, but I think I'm gonna put it in B tier just because the bugs are kind of annoying and the RNG of the shots and everything is annoying as well. But other than that, Halls is just like I'd be fine if they brought back Halls again because like it's like bread and butter, right? It's plain, it's simple, you know what's going on. Miss of Tyrannus Scythe. Um, this dungeon's fine. Like it's the problems with this dungeon are that the first boss is just a huge DPS check, and it's like almost the entire key. It's kind of like Big Mama in that you hope your DPS do their cooldowns right, so that you don't have an extra like 2 minutes in the keystone because you just were one phase slower on this boss. Um, the biggest problem with this dungeon is the maze RNG. The RNG of the maze is literally like 5 minutes difference on the timer, and there's nothing you could have done about it. It's cool that you can pull through the wall. It helps a little bit. It makes some cool pulls happen, but the fact that you might just randomly get a dragon into a long maze, and now suddenly you're like 80% count out of the maze, and your lust timing's weird, and the dragon heals itself for like 50% of its health over its duration or something crazy. It's just like annoying. The last boss, or I'm sorry, the second boss is kind of cool because it's a little coordination of movement and damage and healing and line up all the balls to hit the clones, and no one really knew how it worked. It was kind of buggy. I think they might have fixed it at the end. Um, the the area after the second boss is like it's cool because like there's multiple pathways, I guess. Um, and there's like some damage to heal. It's just kind of plain. Like it's just like the last area of this place is pretty good. It's probably the best part of the dungeon. There's not a whole lot to do, but it is cool. That I like it when it's kind of plain like that sometimes. It's just like you dodge a circle, you heal some AoE, you dispel, you get to do big pulls. I love big pulls as well. You can do like it's like 40 mobs or something in the first pull because it's a whole bunch of little guys, and you hit a fire breath and do bajillion damage and feel useful even though you're not. Um, the last boss is fine. It's fun to just like your movement on that boss is kind of cool. It's like something they never really did again, where like your boss like predicts where you're gonna go based on how you moved last time and like keeps track, and it sends a missile on how you moved, and you could like double hover and make a supersonic just nuke fly across the screen. But range issue was annoying on this boss. Spatial was really good, but it's just part of preservation. I think this is another C tier dungeon, and it's like it loses a lot of points because of the maze RNG. If it wasn't for the maze RNG, I'd probably put this in B, but maze RNG is just so criminal in this dungeon that I hope it doesn't really come back. Um, Motherlode, this is a good one. When I think of Motherlode, I don't have problems with it. Um, the first boss is like a cool boss in terms of like damage amp. I don't damage amps are fun to me. I like doing healer damage. It's fun to be like, oh my gosh, I'm doing 10 mil single target or some crazy thing as preservation. I think it was like a million at the time, not 10 million. But I felt cool doing it. Um, the second boss, Rockmore, I'm gonna skip through this dungeon just because it's like this dungeon doesn't have anything that really is pointed out to me. I guess the area after the first boss is like a little crowded based on how it got pulled, but that's kind of more of a routing issue than it is a dungeon issue. Um, the second boss was a very fun healer fight. It was another one of those pulsing damage into big hit fights, and your healer damage could do something here because the ad you need to kill had a damage amp, so you hit a big fire breath, and you're like, oh, 5% of his health is gone or something. And felt cool. Um, but I like that boss. The area after was kind of just like a check your feet check. That's like the entire area. There I don't remember there being much healing. It's like you either are dodging the like echo cannons or you're dodging the little tornadoes, and that's the entire area. The little laser beam guys, you just heal, just one heal. Um, you would skip a lot in this dungeon just because like the trash is weird, but skips are gonna happen in case, just how it is. Um, you also didn't have to skip. You could just pull differently and not skip certain mobs. So I think that kind of saves it. The next boss is fine. It's just like another like heal. It was really cool. I really liked how you could pull the big cannon guys onto this boss. That made this fight really hard as a healer and really entertaining. So I'm glad that's there. The mines in the area at the end, I think it's silly that those counted. Those probably shouldn't count if this dungeon comes back because you would just like run around and put like 40 mines back to the boss area, and that's how you got like 20% count or something. It's like we're not playing the game at that point. We're just killing mines. Um, I liked pulling two of the cannon guys at the same time. It's a cool heal check. The last boss had safe spots, which like it's fine. They have safe spots. It does take away from the fight, but it's like it's just one of those bosses that as long as no one does something really stupid, you win. You could get really unlucky RNG with the shots on the animation on the last boss because you could have some guy get like shot twice right before hit, and now you hope they hit a defensive that they still had left, and you hope they don't die. But I think like just because this fight is like so not healing intensive, but it's fine to have like a scary section that people could die. That's what your externals like. Two TDs is really cool. I don't know. You didn't have two TDs in this dungeon, but it was cool to save people's life with like rescue and TD and Zephyr. So I think this one deserves S, just because like there's no problems with it and it has like a really cool healing boss in it overall, and like it's just fun. It's a good time. The big pulls, big healing, big damage. It's fun. Um, Necrotic Wake. This is F tier. Don't even want to talk about this dungeon. I'll say this: this dungeon would probably be like C or B tier, just because it's fine. There's nothing too bad about it. There's some buggy stuff with like being stuck in combat, not being able to go to the last area of the dungeon. Um, and like there's just like some random crap that can happen in here. But like the mobs are fine. The healing on the bosses is pretty fun. The second boss is fun to heal. The last boss is fun to heal. The first boss is in a healing check. It's a dispel disease to check and a defensive check. Um, the problem with this dungeon is that it went up like 3 or 4 key levels if you had a priest. Mind control in this dungeon working again on another season is the worst decision Blizzard made in the entire expansion, I'm pretty sure. I think of any decision Blizzard made, at least concerning Mythic Plus, is Necrotic Wake keeping mind control damage. The fact that I didn't heal this on like a good key level because I'm a preservation evoker and I don't know a shadow priest that would play with me, because no one was playing Shadow Priest, is so annoying. It's like, oh, I'm literally like 8 minutes slower in this key because my Shadow Priest isn't in the key, or I'm not a Disc Priest. And also, if you were in the key with the priest, it was even worse because now you have your druid like rooting this unmind controlled mob until your priest mind controls it, and you're lining up a hatchet that'll one shot you if you stand in front of it, and you have to make sure to snap this mob up and move them here, and you have to move them throughout the entire dungeon to really min max it. And it's so bad. It's so cringe and bad. Why would they do this? Like this mind control thing was like I'm not exaggerating. Like 4 key levels, and it's just bad. I hate it when you're required to bring one class. Why is one class out of the what 13 classes the only one that can do this at 3 key levels higher? And it's like you could still time the key look like close, but you were never doing the highest key level unless you had a priest, and that's like not fun. And it's not like priest was like good healing or anything. It's like no, priest is the only thing that can mind control this mob that throws a cleaver, and that's the reason that dungeon sucks. Like that's that's all I'm gonna say about it. Is the dungeon sucks because it requires a priest. Um, and no dungeon should ever require something like that. All right, Priory. Personally, I like Priory. I think as a preservation evoker, the healing in this place is built for our class. It is AoE hit after AoE hit back to back to where you have to top people fast. That's exactly what our class did well. The problems with this dungeon is that the way you lost people were to kicks going off, or someone getting a light spawn targeted on them, or a footman exploding in the last area at the worst time, or like oops, the patrol's bad, we lost 30 seconds because of it, or oops, caltrops, or oops, pot shot. It's one of those, it's like Floodgate, and it's like, oops, somebody took damage and died because something, like either an RNG shot, or I stood in something for half a second, or we didn't kick, and it's like, it's over because there's so many kicks in this dungeon where you lose the DPS, and the time that you needed to B-res them, something else already went wrong because they couldn't kick. The first boss requiring an MRT note for people to do like well at the end of the season because kicks are just so hard. And I don't know. That's the rough part about this key. But the key is so fun healing wise. Like if you do the Paladin room. I think I did 21 Priory Paladin room once, where you did all the Paladins. I might have like one death. It was the first time trying it, and it was like it was just it was such a back-to-back hit of damage for like almost a solid 2 to 3 minutes, and like cycling through your defensives in AoE defensives as a preservation evoker, and living that as a healer and hitting your buttons so good that you live that and literally save like minutes on the timer because you doubled up was so rewarding feeling. It felt so cool. It was like the highlight of the season in the most recent season for me if you healed that paladin room. Um, so that's why I like this dungeon a lot. The last area was fun healing too because it's just some more paladins and more light spawns. Two time dilations is such a no-brainer in this key. It's like, oh, light spawn untold, time dilation. Oh, it's happening to me. I don't have anything up. Time dilation. There's literally a section when I was typing this, or a time when I was doing this key on 20, where like back to back my DPS said I don't have anything here for like 5 light spawn purifications in a row. I was like, don't worry, time dilation, time dilation, time dilation, rescue, time dilation. And it's like, how insane is my spec? Where is my mark of the wild? And it was so, you just felt so cool as a preservation evoker in this key because of that. Um, it was a little annoying that the last boss was like a weird kick fiesta. It's like, oh, we either kick this boss or we have to deal with overlaps. Or we don't kick the boss and we don't have to deal with overlaps, but like your tank doesn't want to die. But other than that, I think this dungeon's good. I'm putting this at A tier. It's not S tier just because like it does have the problems of uh like you can't go left at all hardly. You can go left in this dungeon at the start if you have particular comp, but they buff the shield guys so hard it's like why would you do that? So there are mobs that are just like nuclear in here that shouldn't be nuclear and should be something like the cool thing about this dungeon would be if you could choose really what mini bosses you wanted to do, but it was like such a no-brainer decision for 99% of groups. Literally, I think one group went left, and everyone else in the world went right. So that's kind of upsetting. And then, like the whole thing I said earlier about like you lose this key to stupid stuff with like RNG or we missed one kick and now 7 people are dead. But I think the dungeon is so fun healing wise that I'm putting it in A. Siege of Borellis, this dungeon sucks. It's not F tier. I think F tier might just be Necrotic Wake, just because I hate that dungeon so much. But Siege of Borellis is definitely D. Um, there's a lot of bugs in here. There's just a lot of bugs with like the first boss bugs and just like doesn't fixate and just kills your tank or kills the DPS. Um, it's another one of those someone might get shot like 3 times, or like this guy is the only person who's gotten charged by this commander mob for like 4 picks in a row. Um, the bosses are boring. The damage amp on the first boss is like fun. It's fun when you blow up the boss and the damage amp like 3 times because you just like patted it into bombs perfectly. But like the whole running around doing nothing for like 5 seconds at a time just because you got fixated, your DPS are moaning because they got fixated. You're mad because you're fixated and can't reach people. Um, the second boss is like just heal a little bit while moving. It's like kind of interesting because you're like moving and healing at the same time, but like everyone can deal with that some way or another. It's not like a hard puzzle. It's you do it once and you know how to do it for every key level after. Um, the bananas after the second boss. This entire like road paved with bananas. You just slip. Your tank slipped on a banana. You lost the key. You spent 20 minutes in this key. Your tank slipped on a banana. It's over. Um, you always skip the snipers because they just killed you. The third boss is like whatever. It's just an AoE hit. How many AoE hits can we live? Do we have enough obsidian scales? Do I have to rescue? Do I have to TD? What am I doing to keep people alive? It's like just another defensive check. And then the last boss. The last boss is disgusting. I hate this boss. This boss is a joke if you have a warlock or a priest because you have 2 spells. But also, the hit of the debuff now does damage when it came back, and that hit was like your entire health pool if you didn't defend. And there was also no way of knowing who was getting the debuff. You couldn't tell who was target of the debuff. You could kind of tell if you looked at the sky for the particle effect to see that it was coming towards you. And now you're hit to like 20% health, and you have to dispel someone instantly, or they will just die to another tick unless you heal them up. But usually it was instant dispel, And the problem with that is that if you instant dispel and they're standing on someone else, they're dead. They're flying to a different dungeon. Those guys are in the water. And it's just like, I want to dispel you instantly. Please be spread. And then, oops, my DPS hit like a shadow step for some reason. And now he's in a different dungeon. But like the RNG big hit of damage that you can't tell who it's targeting, and you can also get hit by this, like you could be targeted like 8 times in a row if the game wanted to, is like the disgusting part of this key. And you do like a not fun key just to wipe on this boss 30 minutes later. It's like so boring. Um, so yeah, it's going in D. Streets is like another one, kind of like that. I'm putting Streets in D as well. Streets is better than Crypto though. It's better than these just because like at least it's only held for a little bit. Um, The entire problem with this dungeon is just the first area. The first area is annoying. The dispel in this first area is like a slow, so you can get rid of it with some slow removal stuff. Is nice. The reflection shield. You have to come to this dungeon with the purge, or you get reflected on by magic damage. And it's like you can win the key without it, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's kind of annoying. The way this place got pulled is probably one of the reasons I have a big problem. It's like, all right, let's do this entire first area on the boss over the next 5 minutes, and it's like so stressful. And the real problem is just the boss, because this boss is like you gain or lose like 20 to 30 seconds based on your comp. And it's like, oh, I went in here with 3 warriors who can all blade storm the interrogation, and now my key is a minute and 30 faster because everyone can skip. Or you went in here with an actual comp with like DK Hunter TH, and now it's like, all right, let's hope it hits my DK. Okay, my Hunter is turtling. Good, we immuned it. All right, what am I turtle or what am I Hunter again? He's gonna feign. Oh, went back on the Hunter. He has nothing. Let's break him out. And you just like you gain. It's like I said, you gain 20 or 30 seconds based on whether or not it hits your DK or your turtle. And it's like we either AMS it, we either turtle it, or we lose 30 seconds. And then now the officer's throwing a beam at my guy in a cage because we didn't bait, and it's just like annoying. And then the impound contraband being spell queued kills this dungeon as well. It's like, all right, here comes this one shot ability, right? This thing has a cast time of like 1 second, so fast reaction. You can't tell who it's going on, so you're gonna hit your wall and it's not gonna even hit you. So I have to cycle through my defensives perfectly. I have a 1 second reaction time, and if we stop the interrogate with AMS, then the spell queuing gets messed up, and it might be after, it might be before, and now I've hit my wall, and nothing's happening for 30 seconds, and I just look stupid, and I feel stupid, and then I die to the next one. My keyboard's out the window. Like, I'm pissed. I just hate this boss. It's disgusting. Hit one bear form. It's just like it's so annoying to die to a spell queued RNG not like predictable hit. Like why do I hit my wall and no damage is coming? Like that can't be good game design. The rest of this dungeon though, after that is fine. It's just like it's kind of free. Um, I don't really have any problem with it. Oh, the last boss I have a problem with though. These little teleport gateways and how they're RNG and suddenly, oh, there's a Shuri, we have to get over it. Oh, I don't see a way straight over it. Oops. I needed to go through circle, then circle to triangle, then triangle to square, then square to star, then square to circle, and then circle to circle, and now I would have won. But instead my key wiped because I didn't do that entire like direction in my head fast enough. I mean, I'm over exaggerating a bit, but it is kind of annoying that you do this entire key and then lose because you like I didn't do this little mini game within like 3 seconds of realizing. And everyone's line of sighted when you go through. It's like I get that's part of the fight, but line of sight is an annoying mechanic to deal with this healer already. But yeah, I mean that the dungeon's just like D. I don't know. The dungeon's too like spell QE and buggy to put it any higher for me. Dawnbreaker. I'm gonna put this as high. Do I put this as? I'm gonna put this at C. I know this is a little hypocritical because uh, like I just said, this dungeon's like too buggy to put any higher. This dungeon's the buggy shit show. It is so bad with bugs. Like, I don't think I did a run of this key without something going wrong. It's like either you're pulling mobs with no aggro table because your hunter black arrowed at the wrong time at the wrong weather. It's like partly cloudy outside. Now balls explode when it shouldn't have. Oh, I got teleported into the boat because my dog's missing. It's like, what is happening? Why are these bugs happening? And the thing is this was in the first season and they brought it back and it was worse when they brought it back somehow. I swear it wasn't as bad in the first season as it was in the second that it came in. Um the the mobs will just randomly bolt you from another boat. The ball will just blow up on like a twig. A mob will reset for some reason. Uh like the last boss can be kicked at the right time and give you 6 points on the last day of the season. Like the world, the fastest one on the end of the season because we kicked the boss. For some reason, it's just so much timer. It's like good job. But like, if the thing is, the reason I put this in C is because if this dungeon wasn't so buggy, it would be good. It would be fun. There's a lot of routing options after the first area. The first boss is fun to heal because it's like this heal off a heal absorb before a big hit. We can manage our defensives and like my healing and like a combo. The tank, this boss, the tanking of this boss is terrible too, though. The first boss tanking is so bad. You can't do this dungeon with 3 melee. Um, because the boss just might not move out of the circle, and the circle might not appear when you fly back, and it's a little stupid, but it's like just more bugs. But like if they fix those bugs, it's good, I swear. Um, the the dungeon after the first boss area is like so much better, even with its bugs. It's like still so much better. Cause sorry, it's late. Um, But like you have so many things you can do in this dungeon with a route if you wanted to. Like obviously you'll come down to a refined route eventually, but like there are a lot of options. It's just a big arena almost that you can choose what to do. The bosses are all fun to heal. The second boss is fun to heal as a healer because it's like it's big hit into AoE tick. That's what I like. I like the big hit into AoE tick because it's managing defensives and healing throughput. It's not relying on one or the other. Um, the third boss was also fun because it's just like it's a heal check. It's a barrage of healing. This whole dungeon is a heal check. There's so much healing on the trash. There's so much healing on the bosses. I like it. I feel good and rewarded when I time the ski, as long as it didn't deal with me 80,000 bugs. There's so many bugs. I don't think I've ever did this place without doing bugs. So many bugs, man. Um, but like, I think that's why I put in C's because if the bugs were gone, it would be fun. But because it's not fun. I do think the fact that they messed up the damage on the intermission of the last boss and allowing to pull a pack in between was really cool, and I wish they had done that intentionally, but I know they didn't. But yeah, that's all for that. Rookery. Rookery is like it's fine. It's kind of like the healing in the first area is cool. The main problem with this dungeon is one, it's too linear. There's just like literally nothing different you can do uh in most of this dungeon with mobs you pull, and you're just always going in a straight line. You can like invis skip certain things, but the invis skips are like weird and like barely doable because you're like hugging the wall or your tank's pulling it to the side and you're invising. Um, this dungeon wasn't timeable without an umbrella toy is a huge problem. It's like you could do a route that didn't use an umbrella to float past a pack, but it's like why is this how we're winning this keystone? Like, sure, it's fun because like, oh, we're using an umbrella and we're doing a little cool trick. Like that's cool, but it's like Blizzard obviously didn't intend this to be done this way. Um, and then the second main problem with this place is that the last boss is like 8 minutes of your 30-minute timer, and it's like, oh, we accidentally got a fifth or fourth phase of this boss, and now we lose we've lost all our time because of one boss got an extra phase, and it's like, that's not fun. It's not fun to do an entire dungeon and lose because your DPS accidentally sent cooldowns wrong on the last boss, and now you have like an extra 2 minutes of boss combat because of it. It wasn't 2 minutes, but it was a lot of time. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna put this one in C as well. I'll put it above Gambit, I guess, just because like the healing is fun in most of this key. Like the trash is cool. You can do a lot of trash stuff on bosses. I wish the first boss wasn't like screwed if you didn't like pull a room. Like you should be able to pull this boss and pull trash throughout the room, but instead you pull this boss and then chain lightning pulls somehow a pack, or your infernal brand spreads to a different mob on the other side of the room. It's like that shouldn't happen. Um, the pull before the second boss was a cool healing check. It was more on your DPS hitting defensives on the right time and not cleaving the lightning, but it was still a cool, rewarding pull to do. So overall, I'm just putting it C. Um, Stone Vault. Um, this place is pretty cool. I think I will put this at B, just because um, it does suffer from the too linear thing, but the fights in this are so cool that I like it. The last one kind of sucks, but the first boss is really fun to heal. It's like, how many pillars do you want to break here? Oh, I'll do 222 or 006 or 204, that kind of thing. It's like you decide how you want to heal the fight. Um, the trash is kind of whatever. It's like, it's another, we have to bring a decurse dungeon, which sucks. But it wasn't as bad because it was like 2 packs that you actually had to deal with that in the whole key. Um, and it wasn't the heal absorb that Grippitol was either. It was just like a dot that you could technically heal through. Um, the you could go left or right first. Most people went left first, I think. That boss was pretty cool because like it was like healing damage dynamics, just like how fast can we break these, how fast can we kill them, and how fast can our healer top us between each one. It would suck when your shaman procs a sentence and it wipes the key, just for fun. The boss on the right side was also like a cool like healer fight because you had to heal AoE and then a big hit. I love that. Said about 70 times. There was cool movement to that fight. Um, the the last boss is just a little boring. It's a little annoying on Prez because there was a lot of like ranging each other, but like the damage on it wasn't really like, you got to that boss and you pretty much almost always won. You just had to like push buttons with a little bit of thought to it. So I think, yeah, it just goes in B. Theater of Pain is the same thing. It's like, it's fine. It's just really linear. You can choose which wing to go in. The first boss rework I think was a success. I think it was cool. Little healing fight now. Got rid of the annoying stun guy. Let's see. The different wings were pretty cool. I think you pretty much almost always pulled the same mobs. You always skipped the mini bosses, which is a little bit of a problem, and the fact that it's still too linear. I kind of am yapping. Oh well. Um, Zav is annoying, to be honest, because it's like you choose 2 DPS to get sent down, and you just like lose like a minute on the timer because the wrong DPS got sent down. Your single target guy wasn't doing damage because he was just PvPing for fun, little mini game. You skipped all almost as many mini bosses as you could in his wing, which is kind of dumb. And the skip was not like, it was like punishing if you messed it up. Like you almost always lost somebody if you messed it up, and it was like RP skip. Like the boss wasn't active yet, or the mob wasn't active yet, kind of skip, which is not very fun because it's like you mess it up and now it's just you're pulling that mob. Um, the other 2 wings are fine though. the the gore chop boss with the jumping guys just randomly one-shotting is kind of annoying because it's like, oh, 2 guys are leaping. Let's hope they don't leap on my mage twice. Let's move the entire fight. Like, I don't like that. You're just moving to avoid damage. It's like a W key check. It's kind of boring. But I mean, it's fine. I don't remember this dungeon being too buggy, to be honest. Theater of Pain wasn't too buggy. I don't think there was many bugs. I could be forgetting something big, because WoW has bugs, but it was fine. The last boss was kind of cool. It's just like how much coordination the group needed with like stops and staying together. But it was another boss, like the only way you really lose this boss is because you got hit by an ox, or you stood in a circle, or you stood in the frontal. But I think it's fine. Do I want them to bring it back? No. Is it seaworthy? Yar, like a pirate? No, I'm just kidding. Um, I don't know. I think the fact that it doesn't have the problems that Rookery has makes it be worthy. Just because like you do the key. You do the key and you win. You have some fun. You're good. There's no like glaring problem about this key, so it's like it's just the fact that it's boring pretty much is why it's in B and not A. It's too linear. And the last one, workshop. I hate workshop. Is it F tier? Not really. They got rid of the mind control tech. You still could mind control something in this key for like a little help, but the dungeon's kind of boring. It's too linear. It's boring. The first boss is fine. The second boss is just a stupid don't blow up the box boss. Um, the flame chop pulls are a little RNG, but it's like sure, just a spell. Um, there was a really cool skip that came around where like you jump over the bridge before it spawned and you skip the mini boss, but that's not intended. Um, the hedge boss is so dumb. The hedge saws don't move with real physics. They move like randomly, and you just lose because we like died 2 times to getting hit by the 17th saw in the field if the boss took too long. The spider bots were fun to pull after though. You double pull those, and it felt rewarding to heal those. You do a lot of healing, and people would feel safe. You felt like a hero. The last area, you just do the same pull every time, no matter the key. You'd skip the same pack. The last boss is just don't get hit by those stupid orbs. Please don't get hit by the orbs. Don't get stuck by the magnet. Magnet. Please, tank, don't walk off the front of the platform and die. Uh, don't like. There's a little bit of a healing check, but it was mostly just a brain check of not dying to mechanics. Like, don't get hit by something twice and hit a defensive when you need to, and just get a little like one heal from your healer. So yeah, I think this one. I think I'm gonna put this in D. Like I know some of my like qualifications for these categories is like based on bugs and stuff, but there is a point where like a dungeon is just so boring and unfun that it just has to go to D. It's put in the streets. I think I'd rather do Grim Patrol than it. I wouldn't rather do. No, I would rather do Workshop. No, I would rather do Workshop than Siege, not than Grim Patrol. Because at least Grim Patrol is like exciting to go into. Workshop, you're just sad the whole time, and Siege, you're just upset the whole time. Okay, and for like a last little check to look at these, let's see. City Threads is better than Motherload. City Threads is the goat. Arcara better than Cinderbrew. Yeah, probably just because Arakara is like not linear like Cinderbrew. Ecotome has the jumpy problem. Floodgate is only there because it's like it's just super challenging and rewarding, but it is a little RNG. I'm gonna put it below. Ooh, what did I just do? The phone. Did I just go back? Did I go back? Oh, thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness. I love technology. Okay. Um. Okay, what was it? Oh yeah, I'll put priority above just because I love healing this. I'll put above this. I'll put it above this. I'll I'll keep it below Arcara. Floodgate can stay at A, I think, just because it is such a oh my god we did it finally kind of dungeon. Um, Halls over Dark Flame, just because Halls is so like just generic. This is what a dungeon should hope to be is Halls like baseline. It should be this good. And you want it to be City of Threads, but if you hit Halls of Atonement level, you're happy, like you're satisfied. Dark Flame better than Stone Vault. I'll put Stone Vault above Dark Flame, and Theater Pain can stay here. Gambit better than Rook Reach, because like at least Tazabesh is fun for damage reasons. Mist better than Rookery. These are kind of the same dungeon. To be completely honest, they're just all basically the first and last. Like Mist has the tree boss and Rookery has the last boss, but I think I like Mist more just because like there's less RNG to the packs themselves, kind of, than Rookery with like jump. No, they're about the same in that too, but one has jumps on the despoilers and one has jumps on the foxes, so they're kind of the same. I think I just like Miss more because the as a preservation invoker, the tree boss is much more enjoyable to heal than the last boss at Rookery, so I'll give that as a criteria. Dawnbreaker has to be last, and just because it's so buggy and only wins, because it would be good if it got fixed. Streets is boring, Grimble is fine there, Workshop, PFCs, and yep. Alright, so I think this is my list. This is my ranking. I've yapped for about an hour and a half, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you've watched it to the end, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, I'll try to put out more content. Surely that won't be over an hour long. But thank you all for watching. Bye bye.